Now this one could be really intriguing because on paper you would have to say John Higgins is a big favourite to beat Barry Pinches. But Pinches can be a tough nut to crack. He's been on the professional circuit now for many years. In fact, for 23 years. He's the world number 62, and unlike some of the inexperienced amateurs we've seen on this main table here today, on his day, he can beat anyone. So in the bottom half of the draw, the second round matches are beginning.
One.
42 years of age now, Pinches. You might be wondering about the waistcoat. Well, the yellow back is because he's a big Norwich City fan. He'll be keeping tabs, no doubt, a little bit later on as to how the Canaries do against Manchester United. Big Premier League match for them. The reason he's a Norwich City fan is because he's from Norwich. Strangely enough.
Three.
62nd in the world rankings. And he's picked up some reasonable points this season without doing anything spectacular.
Four.
In the Wuxi Classic in Australian Goldfields Open, he won a couple of qualifying matches in both, actually overcoming the likes of Alan McManus, former Masters champion, and Ben Wollaston. He lost in the final qualifying round of both of those two tournaments, but he then knuckled down, won another couple of qualifying matches in the Shanghai Masters. Again denied in the final qualifying round by Joe Perry.
8.
But Pinches would exact revenge, because in the International Championship, which was played in Chengdu, China recently, he won 3 qualifiers there and beat Perry 6-5 to make the trip out to China, where in the wildcard round he lost 6-5 to Lu Ning. The real negative part of his season so far has been a lack of success in these Players Tour Championship events. This is the 8th tournament of the series he's played in, and he hasn't got past the last 64 yet. Mind you, a 4-1 victory over Mark King in round 1 here will have done wonders for his confidence. As for John Higgins, well, he's trying to win his 9th consecutive match in Players Tour Championship events, because earlier this week in Gloucester, England, he won 7 matches on the trot to capture the title there. And now, of course, he's off to a flyer here with a 4-0 win over Georgi Velichkov, a Bulgarian amateur.
Foul. John Higgins, 4.
Well, that was one of those rare occurrences where the in-off actually didn't do Barry Pinchers any harm. Okay, it was 4 penalty points given away, but I think Higgins would have preferred the cue ball to stay on the table. He would have been left an easy red to middle.
One.
Well, that wasn't an easy red, but he made it look like it was. Another score for you. Yu Delu from China has beaten Thomas Skalski from Belgium 4-3. Yu Delu made breaks of 65, 91, 46. That was early on in the match. Skalski came back to 3-3, winning frame number 6 with a brown to black clearance. But Yu Delu put together a decisive 58 in frame 7.
John Higgins, 1.
Well, a very unexpected miss from Higgins, wasn't it? It's been a strange old season for him. At times he's looked totally at sea. He wasn't particularly happy with his form in the PTC earlier this week, even though he won it, beating Judd Trump in the final. And yet, over at the Shanghai Masters, which he won, he was looking like his old self.
One. Four.
One more result to give you. Michael Holt whitewashed Aaron Busuttil from Malta 4-0.
Five.
Lost control of the cue ball, Higgins, but at least he's got the ability to just nestle it in behind the green.
Green ball. John Higgins, 5.
If you're wondering about our next bill of fare after this best of 7 frame match, well, it will feature another multiple world champion, Mark Williams, taking on Mark Joyce from the West Midlands of England in the second round. We don't know our last match of the day, our 7th and concluding match, but that will be a third round contest a little later on.
Foul in the miss. John Higgins, 4.
Just a shade too narrow. The referee, Theo Selbertinger, quite correctly calling a miss. Higgins probably won't take it though, because he does have a red to right middle.
1. 4. 5.
Up to world number 3, John Higgins, because the ranking point tariff for the Shanghai Masters was quite substantial. And with Mark Selby out of the event already, he played yesterday, lost to Jack Lazowski in the last 32. It means that Higgins has got the chance to close the gap on the world number 2. It also means, of course, that with a good run in the event,
8.
Judd Trump, who has made the last 16, he qualified in the top half of the draw yesterday. If Trump were to have an extended run here, his lead at the top of the rankings would be swelled.
9.
The table doesn't seem the quickest, certainly off the cushions. Higgins really having to thump the balls around, try and get back into prime position.
Thirteen. 19.
Well, the break only 19. It feels an awful lot bigger than that. Lots of work has got into it. Whenever I see a break like this, I always harken back to one of the things that Ted Lowe, the most famous snooker commentator in the history of the game, used to say. When players were concentrating on the yellow, the green, the brown, at some point you could always rely on Ted to say, "Little fish are sweet."
23.
That is true, but in snooker, the big fish are sweeter. Higgins, though, having no option at the moment
24.
to continue to concentrate on the little fish. Well, he will attempt to pot the red he tried to land on, but he wanted to be a lot straighter than this. The pot shouldn't be in question, but position isn't certain.
27.
luxury, a brown.
31.
This hard-working break goes to 32. Higgins now leads by 34 points. Back to his old friend, the yellow. And so if he pots the penultimate red, Pinches will need a snooker. And still the black proves stubbornly elusive. You don't see Higgins taking any liberties here, mind you. Only one snooker needed by Pinches. Two birds killed with one stone there. Played a good snooker, of course, but also on purpose put the yellow under a side cushion. If Pinches does get the chance to clear up, it will now be all the more difficult. He's got a sound tactical game, Pinches. This frame most certainly not under lock and key yet for Higgins. It is now, though.
One. Foul. John Higgins 4, Barry Pinches 4.
Well, 37 points the difference, 27 on the table. I'm surprised actually Pinches carrying on here because there's no possibility of a valuable free ball now the Reds have gone. Well, I suppose in some respects an unwanted fluke.
Barry Pinches 2.
Now will Pinches be tempted, I wonder, to try and pot green and brown and get the snooker off the blue and behind the pink? By the way, the first round now almost complete, as Pinchas plays an excellent trapping shot there. Latest result from the first round, Rod Lawler has beaten Ivalo Pekov, the Bulgarian amateur, by 4 frames to 1.
Foul. Belly Pinchas 4.
Not a classic performance by Lawler, though. He didn't make a 40 break in that match. Well, another valiant attempt. No, though, it is frame over.
3. Seven. John Higgins 7 and the frame.
Well, 60 points to 22, that is low scoring. The cornerstone of Higgins' success, a 37 break that involved an awful lot of pots because he had to take an awful lot of low value killers. John Higgins 1, Barry Pinchas 0. The last first round match to begin, Ryan Corsten against Ian Burns, has got underway. Corsten winning the first frame there. Second round matches in progress around this arena. Well, Liang Wenbo has taken a 1-0 lead over Sean Murphy. Mark Vincent and Lee Yan, they're involved in their first frame. So too Ken Doherty and Oliver Brown. What a performance this from Peter Ebden. His fighting qualities know no bounds. He was 3-0 down to Stuart Bingham. Now it's 3-3, and it looks as though Ebden is going to win the match because he's 52 ahead with 3 reds left in the decider. On the verge of completing a very unlikely comeback. It's 2-2 Joe Swale against Marcus Campbell, and Anthony Hamilton leads Matt Selt 2-1. Swale Campbell, Hamilton Selt and Bingham Ebden, of course, are all first round matches.
Second frame.
Now the winner of this contest goes forward to play either Mark Allen or Craig Steadman. Allen, as you might imagine, an overwhelming favourite to win that match. Well, things aren't going well. It looks as though the Northern Ireland #1, the winner of last season's World Open, is going to fall 2-0 behind. Steadman leads 1-0 at the moment. Allen needs a couple of snookers in the second frame. You can always tell when cushions are a little bit dead, and you can tell by the sound that the cue ball makes when they make contact with them. Now, I'm not saying the table is unplayable or anything like that. It most certainly isn't. It's a good playing surface, but the cushions aren't quite as springy as they normally are. I also think that the reaction off the cushions is fooling some players. Higgins attempted a shot to nothing double there and was miles away. And on several occasions we've seen players trying to escape from snookers and being nowhere near where they wanted to be. John Higgins played in the Premier League at the Spennymoor Leisure Centre on Thursday evening before travelling out here. Lost 4-2 to Peter Ebden. It was for him a meaningless match because he'd already booked his place in the semi-finals of the Premier League. He will be at Grimsby next Saturday taking on Stuart Bingham. But in the two frames he won up in Spennymoor, Higgins made breaks of 125 and 133. It's been a really busy week of snooker for him. Trying to capture back-to-back PTC titles. He won the tournament in Gloucester on Wednesday, and he did so in remarkable fashion, really, because on the final day of that event, without playing anywhere near his best,
13.
He won 4 matches. 3 of them were a real grind. And during that day, would you believe he played 27 frames of competitive snooker? Maybe that's taking its toll now.
13. One.
Well recovered by Pinches, especially if the red goes to the right-hand middle, which I believe it does.
8. Nine.
When he's in the groove, Pinches, he can score heavily. He's made 119 century breaks in professional competition. Had a super amateur career in the late 80s. He was actually English amateur champion in 1988. That qualified him for the World Amateur Championship in Sydney, Australia in 1989, where he lost in the final to James Wattener of Thailand.
Barry Pinches, 16.
But so far in this match, it's been one struggle from start to finish, or certainly start to where we are now.
One.
So with one former world champion at the table, got some extraordinary news to tell you about another. Peter Ebden did complete that comeback against Stuart Bingham. Ebden 3-0 down, seemingly out of the tournament, comes back to win 4-3. He is one of the grittiest competitors ever to pick up a cue.
$14. $15.
Ebden now plays Ben Wollaston in the last 64, by the way.
$22. $23.
Good shot from Higgins. Not easy queuing over a red like that.
30.
Alignment's difficult, and also you can always put on a trace of unwanted side
31.
on the cue ball, which causes the object ball to go astray. Not in that case. And now Higgins seemingly on course for 2-0.
$38. $39. $46.
Just took a peek at the scoreboard there, Higgins. He needs red,
47.
blue, red. The blue would take him 49 points ahead, but 51 remain on the table.
$52. $53.
A century break is unlikely
60.
from here.
$61.
But there are enough points on the table. Higgins needs to pot blue, pink or black.
67.
Should he knock in the last red, which is highly questionable.
$68.
Super break this, it really is.
73. $75. $78.
4 pots away from what would be his 512th century break in professional competition. 5-1-2.
82.
He's third on the list, behind only Stephen Hendry and Ronnie O'Sullivan.
87. Foul.
Oh, no century. Pots the pin, goes in off. Nevertheless, John Higgins will be delighted with that contribution. It was top class. He leads Barry Pinches by 2 frames to 0. We're still in that crossover period in the day where we've got some second round matches being played simultaneously to first round. Let me tell you about the first round contests. Right now, Ryan Corsten leads Ian Burns 1-0. It's 3-2 for Marcus Campbell over Joe Swale. Marcus Campbell, by the way, travelled out here to this tournament in company with John Higgins. Anthony Hamilton and Matt Selt level at 2-2. And then the rest of the action going on. Second round. Liang Wenbo is going to take a 2-0 lead over Sean Murphy. Craig Stedman has taken a very surprising 2-0 lead over Mark Allen. It looks as though Lee Yan, who benefited from a first round walkover because of the suspension of Stephen Lee, looks as though he's going to take the first frame against Mark Vincent. Ken Doherty leads Oliver Brown 1-0. And Zhao Guodong from China and Alfie Burden are right at the start of their opening frame.
John Higgins to break.
Will try to pot the red, taking the cue ball off cushion first, purely for positional reasons. And again, it could be costly.
One. Seven. Eight.
Not the easiest pot, this. Oh, well done from Higgins. And now this really is a good scoring opportunity. He's dominating.
15.
Another second round match just
16.
underway, by the way, on table 7. Rory McLeod against Dominic Dale.
$22.
Regardless of the simplicity of the pot, it's never easy to use the spider, especially for a
23.
positional shot quite as complex as that. So Higgins has done pretty well, but the cue ball is a little closer to the side cushion than he would want. Again, another black that's missable.
John Higgins, 23.
And when you see a ball going towards the near jaw like that, well, Higgins would have known that's going to remain on the table. So can Barry Pinches finally have some quality table time and some sustained table time?
1. $8.
He has won a Players Tour Championship event, Pinches. The 4th event back in 2010. But he's never beaten John Higgins. They've played each other on 4 occasions. Higgins has the perfect record. And including the frames won today, his frames won lost record against Pinches is 21
9.
to 7.
$11.
Holds a crucible record, does Barry Pinches, who's got a choice of reds here, by the way. The joint lengthiest gap between his first and second appearances. He made his debut in Sheffield in 1991 in the World Championship and had to wait until 2004 to go back there. 13 years. The only other player who's waited 13 years between first and second appearances at the game's most famous venue, Jamie Burnett.
12.
Mind you, when Pinches did return in 2004, he made the most of it. He beat Jimmy White in the first round of the championship. And that was only a week or so after White had won the Players Tour Championship event, a major world ranking event, up in Glasgow. And I'll tell you what, Pinches came very close to beating Stephen Hendry next time out.
8.
Lost a thriller, 13-12. That was in the last 16.
$19. 26. 27. 34.
You might have noticed on
35.
Barry Pinch's waistcoat, one of the logos is for sight right. Now that was a device brought into snooker by one of Barry's friends, a guy called Stephen Feeney. He was a former bank manager from Norwich,
35.
who's helped an awful lot of players with their alignment. And of course, as soon as I tell that story, he makes a hash of that particular shot. But that was a miscue, nothing to do with alignment. From the way he's played that, we know that the black will pass the red to the top right-hand pocket. Good chance for Higgins this, for 3-0. But you know, as he was lining that shot up, I honestly thought he was hitting the black to the near jaw, and lo and behold, that's exactly what he did. Well, second juicy bite of the cherry in this frame for Pinches, and from here he really should get his first frame on the board.
Seven. 8.
Not for the first time today. In fact, on many occasions we've seen some rather dull contacts.
Thirteen. 14.
'He needs the pink and the last red. I'm just wondering about the kicks and the dull contacts. Maybe it's to do with
20.
atmospherics, because it's around 50 degrees Fahrenheit in Sofia at the moment, but the humidity 82%. Well, I think after that it's 100% that Pinches is going to win frame 3, and really John Higgins can only have himself to blame. Missed a couple of balls he should have potted into the same top right-hand corner pocket.
Twenty-seven. 29. 32. $36. Barry pinches 36.
The blue going astray did not matter. Barry Pinches at one point was in danger of falling 3-0 behind. Now though, he's right in the match, trailing just 2-1, and if he were to win the next frame as well, I think John Higgins would be the one feeling most pressure. John Higgins 2, Barry Pinches 1. Now Higgins has left the arena for a call of nature, as they say, and so it gives me opportunity to tell you the very latest scores. Ian Burns and Ryan Corsten, that was the last first round match to go out into the arena. 1-1 there, Corsten winning the first, Burns equalising. It's 2-1 for the Angwen Bow over Sean Murphy. Those two have a little bit of a history. They played a grudge match, or at least everyone termed it as such, in the semi-finals of the Shanghai Masters some years back. Wenbo prevailing before losing to Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final. Now I told you that Craig Steadman had taken a very surprising 2-0 lead over Mark Allen. Well, Allen won the third frame convincingly. Early doors in the fourth. Lee Yan, he leads Mark Vincent 1-0. Ken Doherty, world champion 15 years removed, he leads Oliver Brown 2-0. Marcus Campbell has beaten Joe Swale 4-2. That's in a first round contest. And also in the first round, Anthony Hamilton has regained the lead against Matt Selt at 3-2. Over on table 10, Zhao Guodong and Alfie Burden still involved in their first frame.
Frame 4. Barry pinches to break.
Well, missing the red was bad enough, but then getting the double kiss and leaving the cue ball at the business end of the table, even worse for Higgins. Played it in such a way to try and follow the cue ball through, bring it back up maybe for blue, believing he wouldn't leave an awful lot if he did that. But those plans were scuppered by the double kiss.
1. Eight. 9.
Pinch's best performance in a major world ranking tournament came 9 years ago. Around this time of year, actually, when he made the quarterfinals
17.
of the 2003 UK Championship. I think one of his proudest moments came in the 2000 Welsh Open, when in the qualifiers he put together a 147 break.
24.
The maximum from Pinches, one of 92 that have now been made in professional competition. The 92nd and most recent arrived yesterday. Tom Ford against Matthew Stevens in this tournament.
Well,
that almost stayed on the table. It would have been a terrible miss. Pinches, no doubt, were very relieved to see it fall in.
$32.
Slightly awkward queuing.
Barry Pinches, 32.
The pot to middle was obviously a lot easier, but position from that was up in the air. Pinches knew that if he could pot the red to the baulk pocket, position on the blue would be pretty much assured. The only problem with that, though, of course, now that he's missed, Higgins right in amongst them. Now he's looking here at a 3-ball plant. It looks as though it's very much on. Yeah, straight in without touching the sides. Now with that kind of shot, it's not so much about the execution, it's about actually spying them.
$6.
Now just to repeat, the winner of Higgins or Pinches in the last 32 will play either Mark Allen or Craig Steadman. And I can tell you that Steadman has just taken a 3-1 lead. How about that? Totally unexpected. Sean Murphy, the 2005 world champion, is also 3-1 down to Liang Wenbo, China's number 2.
$12.
Well, Higgins didn't screw back off the blue quite as much as he thought he would. That left a slightly tougher pot with the rest, and it really rattled before dropping.
$19. $20. Sure.
Again, not the most clean of contacts between cue ball and object ball, and so Theo Selbertinger being called into action. When you watch these PTCs, you might not easily recognise the vast majority of the officials, and that's because the up-and-coming referees are given a chance to officiate in them. Well, Higgins disgusted with himself, and rightly so. Again, same pocket, same jaw. That was the jaw that cost him a couple of times in the previous frame, and history repeated itself. I'm sure that Barry Pinchers can't quite believe his luck.
One. Eight. Nine.
Well,
Nine.
same jaw, same pocket, but this time the victim is Pinchers. When you're given chances by one of the game's greats and you don't take advantage of them, you always get the feeling you might have missed the boat. The fact that the black has gone away from the pocket here and up that side cushion doesn't make life any easier for Higgins.
One.
Now that was pretty well thought out, but I think he just put slightly too much into it. And although the pink will float into the right-hand middle, he's taking the cue ball away from the reds. Again, just slightly too much into the white. That's why he made a marginal contact with the jaw of the yellow pocket. But the red is still on.
Eight.
And Higgins does have the angle on the blue. Stun down for the loose red at the bottom of that line of three.
13.
The frame could easily be resolved on the outcome of this shot. Super. The pot itself was box standard, but opening up the two reds,
20.
That's the most important thing.
One.
Higgins 13 points ahead,
27.
and with the colours where they are, can't imagine he won't make enough here.
28.
Grossly overscrewed for the blue, played it to the middle pocket. He'll now take it top left.
$33. 35.
The break goes to 35. Higgins' lead goes to 21 points, and so this is frame ball.
38. $42. 47. 47. And a break.
A break of 47 late on in frame number 4, and John Higgins takes a 3-1 lead. He's not at his sharpest so far, but he's done more than enough to move within a frame of victory over Barry Pinches. Pinches has to win the last 3 frames to pull a shock result out of the fire. As it stands, highly unlikely. Well, just a couple of first round matches still being played. Anthony Hamilton leads Matt Selt 3-2, and he's also handily ahead in frame number 6 by 45 points to 6. Hamilton looks as though he might be on course for a 4-2 victory, although still some work to do. And in the other first round match still to be completed, Ian Burns has recovered from the loss of the first frame against Ryan Corsten to lead 2-1. As for the second round matches in progress, well, Craig Steadman still moving towards a shock victory over Mark Allen. Steadman leading 3-1. Everything going Ken Doherty's way on table 6. He's now 3-0 ahead of Oliver Brown. Dominic Dale and Rory McLeod are still involved in their first frame. Dale leading by 39 points with 3 reds left. And Zhao Guidong from China has taken the opening frame against
Frame 5.
Alfie Burton.
Against the break.
So can John Higgins, a little prone to error so far in this match, go on to complete a fairly comfortable victory. Well, missing the red wasn't good for Barry Pinches, but the last kiss, that was even worse. Now can Higgins pounce, expend the minimum amount of nervous energy, get over the line at 4-1, and then have a reasonable time between this match and his final match of the day in the last 32. When he won that tournament in Gloucester, the PTC
6.
on Wednesday, he played almost continuously from 10 o'clock in the morning to when he lifted the trophy after 9 o'clock at night.
7.
It was a real slog for him. He beat Steve Davis 4-3 in the last 16, then Barry Hawkins and Anthony Hamilton also 4-3. And then with his best performance of the day, he overcame Jed Tremp in the final 4-2. By the way, in that tournament, although he didn't end up winning it, Tremp was superb again, made 10 century breaks.
15.
Tremp's already made 2 here, so that's 35 for the season. Now bear in mind we're only in mid-November. It's an extraordinary total. He's on course to absolutely obliterate the record for the highest number of century breaks made in professional competition in a single season, which was set
21.
last season actually by Mark Selby at 55. Tremp already on 35 and counting.
$28. $29.
Higgins consistently being fooled by the pace of the cushions, there's no doubt about that.
$35. $36. $43.
Good pot, but with a little bit of running side on the cue ball there as he screwed it back. Higgins out of position.
Green ball. John Higgins, 44.
Good solid start to the frame. Not a bad safety shot, and taking that awkward red off the side cushion also to Pinch's benefit, because should he get the chance to clear up, he wants the balls as nicely spaced as possible, not awkward. super. Shot to nothing, of course. The main intention was getting the cue ball deep into baulk, which Higgins has done. But now by potting the red, he can either take on the risky brown to middle or lay the snooker. Brown took on, Brown potted. That might be the beginning of the end for Pinches.
Six.
And so the slim pickings for Pinches in these PTC events this season look like continuing.
12.
Lost in the first round. Of the first 13. PTC. And then the early exits just carried on from there.
Blue one.
Pinches hasn't been past the last 64 of a Players Tour Championship all season, and if this red goes in, that record will not be improved here in Bulgaria, and it doesn't. And so there's just a modicum of daylight
18.
for Pinches, even though he might be in a snooker here. Now, can Higgins get through to see the red over the middle pocket? I believe he can. It's a pretty simple frame and match ball.
One.
Well, the story of this match, pretty much the story of the way he's been over the last couple of months, John Higgins. Not at his best, but still getting the result.
John Higgins, 1.
63 in front, 59 on the table. Pinches needs one snooker, but of course then he needs 4 reds, 4 blacks and all the colours to force a respot. Now listen to this, folks. John Higgins, when he went into this match, would have thought, well, I need to beat Barry Pinches to set up a last 32 meeting with Mark Allen. Well, that's not going to be the case, because Allen has just been beaten 4-1 by Craig Steadman. That's a really surprising scoreline. Had to pot the blue there, so
6.
Pinches now 57 adrift, 51 on. He needs 2 snookers.
Seven. Touching close.
Well, it's touching the blue. He can't get through to the pink.
Pink ball. Foul.
That's it.
So Pinches 7. John Higgins.
Match over. John Higgins wins by 4 frames to 1. Not especially happy with his performance, but happy with the result nevertheless. That's 5 times now during the course of their professional careers. Higgins and Pinches have crossed cues, and on all 5 occasions, John Higgins has prevailed. He will now play Craig Steadman in the last 32. Our next match is Mark Williams against Mark Joyce. It's going to be in around 10 to 15 minutes time. But just before we see that one, and just before I take a little bit of a break, let me give you the very latest scores